المقدس، الصخرة المشرفة، المكان الذي أسري إليه بسيد الأنبياء سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Cinema has been one of the most popular forms of storytelling of all time. From the moment the lights dim and the screen comes alive, you travel to a realm where stories unfold before your eyes. Everyone goes to the cinema. Kids go to the cinema, teenagers, adults, millennials, boomers,
kids these days.
all of us. And you definitely went to the cinema at least once in your lifetime. You've probably watched an Indian drama, a Hollywood blockbuster, or an Egyptian comedy, or even a Canadian horror. Now look back at all of those movies you saw at your local cinema and tell me, have you seen a Bahraini film in the cinema? No? Most likely not. Okay. Anyways, we're here to discuss the concept of national cinema. National cinema typically means the films produced and released within a country. These films may reflect the country's culture, traditions, economy, history, and other things. At least that's what most people think. According to Andrew Hickson's PhD thesis that was published in 1989, the term is used for a wide variety of reasons, because there is no single universally accepted discourse of national cinema. It's a similar situation to the scientific measuring units, the metric system and the imperial system, but much more complicated. Filmmakers are artists. What do you expect? Everyone going to agree on one thing? Of course not. The term national cinema is so complex that a whole theory is formed around it. The theory seeks to understand a film's origins and how that is reflected in the work itself. You think it's easy, but how would you categorize where a film comes from? Does it depend on where the director is from, where the writer is from, or where the writer wrote the story, or is it where the production takes place? Filmmaking's collaboratory nature complicates identifying which national cinema a specific film belongs to. For example, Hamad Abdullah's Hooves horror short film is inspired by Bahraini folklore, and it's written and directed by a Bahraini filmmaker.
She's here. Waleed.
Those are just stray dogs, Mama.
But at the same time, it was filmed in Los Angeles with an American production team. So the question is, Hooves a Bahraini national film, or is it an American national film? That example is only one of many films that belong to national cinemas. There's a lot of them all over the world, each one with its own cultural characteristics, historical distillations, and political context. But the one that stands out to me the most, personally, is the Jordanian national cinema. Jordan, as a country, has been a very bustling place for whenever Hollywood wanted to make a space movie.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground! You underestimate my power! Don't try it!
Or anything that involves a desert in the background. Stereotypical. And since old times, Jordan's government officials, or the RFC, or the Royal Film Commission in Jordan, incentivized foreign filmmakers and studios to make films there, offering cash rebates from 10% to 25% of production spending, which is a lot of money. And as time passed, the locals gained expertise from the foreign filmmakers and started making films of their own. Films like Farha and
كان يا مكان قبل مدة من الزمان في واحد اسمه كابتن أبو رائد.
We'll talk about Captain Abu Ra'ad later. Jordanian national cinema has many characteristics, narrative realism, social commentary, and innovative storytelling being the most apparent of them. Most of the Jordanian films reflect on critical social issues like poverty, political turmoil, refugees, and displacement, while at the same time portraying their stories in an authentic and genuine manner.
تعرفت لك على واحدة هنا بالمطار وتزوجنا على طول.
والله يا مبروك.
الله يبارك فيك. رجع علي الدكتور بيقول لي مبروك يا سامح جاك بس.
Notable filmmakers who explored these topics are Nabil Sawalha, Atif Al-Tayyib, and Mohammed Mallas. Their works explored societal issues and reflected the realities of Jordanian society.
كابتن شكرا على الهدية غلبتي حالك.
بالعكس ما في غلبة ولا شيء. بس ما تناديني كابتن. خلص ناديني نور.
طيب ما بتخافي من الطيران؟
بعشقه من وأنا هالقد. معليش أسألك سؤال.
تفضلي.
كل هالكتب والعلم والمعرفة ليه عامل نظافة؟
Mr. Amin Matalqa, the amazing director and amazing writer behind Captain Abrad, studied in the University of Southern California's School of Cinematic Arts, where he earned a Master of Fine Arts degree. The film in question revolves around an old janitor who is later mistaken for a pilot by a bunch of his neighborhood's kids. He then becomes intertwined in their lives. He basically became like a godfather to them, a false idol, you can say. The film later became the first Jordanian film to be submitted for the Best Foreign Language Film category at the Academy Awards. And guess what? It won.
I want to tell you a story about Nadim. You know, he's a veteran. He lives in London, actually. He's a Jordanian actor, lives in London, and he's been in movies since the 1960s. Yeah, he's been in James Bond. He's the Arab that gets shot or thrown out the window. And he's, you know, he always says, "I've ridden more camels and horses than anyone else." He's always like, but he was in Jordan. He was flying to Jordan from London in 1992 with the cast and crew of The Son of the Pink Panther. And my father was the pilot on the trip.
And Val Kilmer was on the flight with him, and they struck a friendship. Val Kilmer called me in Ohio, where I was, and he said, "Hey, we're gonna make this movie in Jordan. Do you want to come join us?" So I went out to LA.
And so when they were filming, I went over to the set, and he just gave me like this big hug.
For the first time, and hung out with Val Kilmer and saw how crazy Hollywood was. So then 5 years after that, I had this like awakening, kept a day job, and I bought a XL1 camera and a light kit and some sound stuff, and I would write shorts in coffee shops, new people that I would just make. I'd say, "Hey, you want to act in a movie?" And I started collecting my troupe. I made one short film a month for 2 years, and the moment I got the acceptance from AFI, I studied directing, masters in directing, and I started writing what would become Captain Abrad. While I was at AFI, I would share my script, which was a crappy script in the beginning. Okay. But I would share it with everybody to say, "Hey," all the faculty, I'd say, "I'm making this movie. I have this dream. I want to start the Jordanian film industry, blah, 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 blah." So focus on story, number one, performance, number two. They're hand in hand, both. Camera, all this stuff, it's there to serve those two things. First you do your prep and your homework when you do the pre-production. You know, I storyboarded as much as I could with that film. With a camera, you know, I just take the shots on the locations with whoever crews with me, you know. But then you have to kind of like, you have all that in your mind. And then on the day, you have to be fresh and you have to be open to new possibilities and changes and play with the variables that are at your disposal. And that's the magic of the movie.